only realize the value of something once they no longer have easy access to it. This is a universal truth that applies to relationships, friendships, and even opportunities in life. When something is always available, it becomes routine, expected, and eventually taken for granted. But the moment it's gone, people suddenly begin to appreciate its worth. This is the power of scarcity. When you remove yourself from a situation where you were always present, people start to feel your absence in ways they never noticed your presence. Think about it. Why do luxury brands thrive? It's not just because of quality, it's because of exclusivity. The moment something becomes rare, it becomes desirable. The same principle applies to human relationships. When you make yourself too accessible, too predictable, or too easy to reach, people begin to lose interest. They assume you will always be there. They start prioritizing everything else over you because they believe your presence is guaranteed. But when you step back, when you create space, you force them to reflect on what they once had. Human nature is wired to chase what is slipping away. The more available something is, the less valuable it seems. That's why people desire what they cannot have. It's why they miss you when you stop chasing, why they call when you finally stop checking in, and why they suddenly want to fix things when you no longer care. It's not because they didn't know your worth before, it's because they were too comfortable knowing you were always there. Once that certainty is gone, doubt creeps in. They begin to wonder why you pulled away, why you stopped reaching out, and why your presence no longer fills their days. The problem is, most people make the mistake of trying to prove their worth. They over-explain, over-give, and overcompensate just to be seen. They think that by showing up more, by being louder, and by proving their loyalty, they will finally be appreciated. But the truth is, appreciation doesn't come from being constantly available. It comes from absence. It comes from the realization that not everyone is replaceable. You have to understand that people value what they have to earn. If you're always texting first, always making the effort, and always showing up regardless of how you are treated, you are teaching others that you are an unlimited resource, and unlimited resources are not respected. They are used, overlooked, and eventually discarded. But the moment you step back and reclaim your energy, everything shifts. Suddenly, your silence speaks louder than your words ever could. Suddenly, your absence is felt more than your presence ever was. This is why the most powerful thing you can do is stop over-giving and start preserving your energy. When you stop initiating, when you stop explaining, when you stop proving, you shift the power dynamic. You no longer operate from a place of need, but from a place of self-respect. And that is when people start noticing. They start remembering the way you made them feel, the way you supported them, the way your energy uplifted them. And now it's missing. Now they feel the void. The beauty of this realization is that you don't even have to be bitter about it. You don't have to hold resentment or seek revenge. Your absence alone is enough. Your silence is enough. Because when you finally pull away, when you finally choose yourself over the need to be validated, you become untouchable. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are the one who decides who gets access to you. And that is your power. Chasing people is one of the quickest ways to lose your value in their eyes. The more you pursue someone, whether in relationships, friendships, or any aspect of life, the more they pull away. It's human nature to desire what feels just out of reach and to take for granted what is always within arm's length. If you are constantly seeking validation, always proving your worth, and making yourself too available, you are giving others the power to determine your value. But the truth is, your worth does not depend on their recognition. It is something you carry within you, and the moment you stop chasing, you shift the energy in your favor. You do not need to beg for love, attention, or respect. If someone truly values you, they will show it through their actions. They won't need constant reminders of your presence because they will make an effort to keep you in their life. Real connections are not forced. They are mutual. When you stop chasing, you allow space for those who genuinely care to step forward. And when they don't, you receive your answer without having to waste any more energy. Many people get caught in the cycle of over-explaining, over-giving, and over-proving. They believe that if they just show how much they care, they will finally be appreciated. But appreciation doesn't come from desperation, it comes from self-respect. The more you chase, the more you communicate that you are willing to accept less than you deserve, and the more they realize this, the less they feel the need to make an effort. They assume you will always be there, always forgiving, always waiting. But when you stop, when you finally pull back, everything changes. The moment you stop chasing, you become a mystery. Your absence makes people wonder. Your silence forces them to reflect. Instead of trying to convince them to see your worth, you let them experience what life is like without you in it. And that is when the real shift happens. When you stop overextending yourself for people who don't reciprocate, you regain your power. You stop moving from a place of neediness and start operating from a place of self-worth. Think about the people you admire the most. They are not the ones who beg for attention. They are the ones who command it simply by being themselves. They do not chase, they attract. They do not over-explain, they move in silence, and yet people gravitate towards them because their energy speaks for itself. This is the energy you need to embody. The energy of someone who knows their worth, who walks away when they are not valued, and who does not settle for half-hearted efforts. When you stop chasing, you allow space for better things to come into your life. You stop settling for people who do not appreciate you and you make room for those who will. You shift from being someone who begs for love to someone who receives it effortlessly. And the best part? By the time those who ignored you realize what they lost, you will be too busy becoming the best version of yourself to care. Let people show you where they stand. If they don't make an effort, take it as a sign and keep moving. Stop trying to change people, stop waiting for them to act right, and stop believing that your love alone will make them see your value. Your value is not up for debate. And when you finally embrace that, you will stop chasing and start attracting what truly belongs to you. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have. In a world where people are constantly seeking validation, attention, and reassurance, the ability to remain quiet speaks louder than any words ever could. When you stop explaining, stop reaching out, and stop reacting, you force people to sit with their thoughts. You force them to question, to wonder, and to reflect on what they lost. People expect reactions. They expect explanations, arguments, and emotional outbursts. They expect you to prove yourself, to justify your absence, and to beg for their attention. But when you respond with silence, you remove their control over you. You no longer feed into the cycle of chasing, explaining, or proving your worth. Instead, you shift the power dynamic. Suddenly, they are left with nothing but their own thoughts, and in that silence, they start to realize what they have done. When you choose silence over reaction, you become unpredictable. You are no longer giving them the comfort of knowing how you feel or what you are thinking. And that is unsettling because as long as you are talking, they know they still have a hold on you. But the moment you go silent, they start to wonder, why did you stop calling? Why did you stop caring? Why aren't you explaining yourself? And that uncertainty is what makes people realize they can no longer take you for granted. Silence is not about playing games or manipulating others. It is about self-control. It is about knowing that not everything deserves your response. Not every situation needs your energy. Some things, some people are simply not worth your words. And when you learn to walk away in silence, you start to value your own peace more than you value being understood. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that if they just explain enough, they will be heard. If they just talk more, they will be valued. But the truth is, people hear what they want to hear. And if someone does not respect you, no amount of explaining will change that. Your words will fall on deaf ears and you will only exhaust yourself trying to prove a point to someone who has already made up their mind. That is why silence is so powerful. It removes you from the conversation entirely and forces the other person to sit with the reality of your absence. Think about it. When do people start missing someone? Not when they are constantly there, begging for attention, but when they are suddenly gone. When they no longer have access to that energy, that presence, that love. It is in the absence that people finally begin to appreciate what they once had. And that is exactly why silence works. It gives them no choice but to feel the emptiness of your presence no longer being there. When you choose silence, you reclaim your power. You no longer allow others to dictate your emotions, your energy, or your worth. You no longer waste time trying to convince people to see what they should have seen from the beginning. Instead, you let your absence do the talking, and by the time they realize what they lost, you will have already moved on. You will have already elevated to a level where their opinions, their validation, and their attention no longer matter. Silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is self-respect. It is the ultimate response to those who thought they could take you for granted. And once you master the power of silence, you will never again feel the need to explain, to prove, or to chase. You will simply let your energy speak for itself. The best thing you can do for yourself is to focus on your own growth. When people walk away, when they ignore you, when they take you for granted, the most powerful response is not anger or revenge. It's becoming better than ever. It's leveling up so much that by the time they realize what they lost, you no longer care. Growth is the ultimate form of self-respect, and when you channel all your energy into improving yourself instead of proving your worth to others, you become unstoppable. Most people waste their time trying to make others see their value. They beg, they explain, they wait around hoping for a change, but the truth is the people who don't see your worth now will only see it once it's too late. And by then, you won't be the same person anymore. You will have evolved, you will have built a life that no longer includes them. And that is the real power move. Not trying to get even, not trying to make them feel guilty, but becoming so focused on your own success, happiness, and self-improvement that their absence no longer matters. Think about it. How many times have people only started noticing someone's worth after they moved on, after they stopped waiting, after they became successful, happy, and completely unbothered? It's because nothing is more attractive, more powerful than someone who no longer needs external validation. When you shift your focus from them to yourself, everything changes. Suddenly, you stop worrying about who is watching, who is missing you, and who regrets losing you, because you're too busy building the life you deserve. The best revenge is not proving your worth to someone who didn't appreciate it. It's making sure that by the time they realize it, you've already outgrown them. You are no longer accessible. You are no longer the same person who once waited for them to see your value. And that is what hurts them the most, not your anger, not your silence, but your transformation. Use that energy, the frustration, the disappointment, the sadness, turn it into something productive. Pour it into your goals, your passions, your self-improvement. Work on yourself until your success, your confidence, and your happiness speak louder than anything you could ever say. The people who once doubted you, ignored you, or underestimated you will eventually notice. And when they do, they will realize that the version of you they once knew no longer exists. The moment you stop seeking validation from others, you gain control over your life. You stop waiting for apologies, for explanations, for closure. You stop looking back at what could have been and start focusing on what is yet to come. You become so consumed with your own growth that the past no longer holds any weight over you. And that is what true power looks like. At some point, those who took you for granted will look back and wonder what happened. They will remember how you used to be, how you used to care, how you used to give so much of yourself. And they will realize they lost something rare. But by then you will have already moved on. You will have already built a life so fulfilling that their absence is nothing more than a faded memory. That is the ultimate power, not needing them to miss you, but becoming so great that by the time they do, it no longer matters.